I straightened my gingham shirt over my jeans, smoothed my blonde ponytail, and got ready for the next participant. Ah, there he was now, standing in the doorway and looking around. I lifted my hand, waved gently, and he headed toward my table. "Are you Glenn?" I asked politely. He nodded. Unsure of how to begin, he cleared his throat nervously as the waiter set a glass of water for him on the table and told us he'd be back. "Hi, Glenn. I'm Amanda. Please feel free to order coffee or a soft drink if you'd like. Did you bring a list of questions to ask me?"
Water's fine for now, thanks. Yes, I brought the questions. Should we just get right into them?
I nodded and took a sip of my iced tea. His eyes met mine.
How old are you?
"I just turned 36 in November."
Ever been married?
"Never. I was engaged once, but he broke it off."
What's the longest relationship you've ever been in?
"Bob and I," he was the fiancé, "were together 3 years." He paused and took a sip of his water. Then, checking his list, he continued. I couldn't read his reaction. His body language told me nothing beyond the fact that he was a little nervous. He didn't appear to be attracted to me, but it wasn't my job to gauge his responses.
What do you do for a living?
"I work in a department store in ladies' apparel."
Do you want children?
"I think 2 kids would be nice. Maybe one of each." I smiled, not really making eye contact, but not wanting to appear too friendly.
What's the most unusual thing you've ever done on a dare?
Now, this was different. I'd never been asked this before. I perked up and thought for a moment before answering. When I was in college, my friends dared me to stand on a street corner in my pajamas. I smiled, as if remembering the good old days, when in reality, this incident never happened. I went on, "If anyone talked to me, I had to sing my reply." I laughed. By the end of the afternoon, I was getting requests for songs to sing. That's the day I met Bob, actually. He stood up and held out his hand, signaling his time was up. "Thank you for your time, Glenn. I'll be in touch." A few minutes later, I prepared myself for the last participant of the day. The waiter had cleared my table, and I asked for 2 fresh glasses of water. I slipped off to the ladies' room to change my clothes. When I returned, I was wearing a black sheath dress, high heels, and red lipstick. The wig was red, curly, and tumbled down over my shoulder blades. Mike was just being seated as I returned to the table, but he stood quickly and held out his hand. "Hello, Mike, I'm Julie. I'm going to order some white wine. Would you like something to drink?" Mike assured me that he would indeed like to have white wine as well. Before he could say anything else, I proceeded to offer up information that was not requested. I told him I was 32, that I'd been divorced for about a year, no children, and was continuing in my modeling career. I purposely interrupted him at least 3 times, but he didn't seem to mind. In part because each time I did so, I placed my hand suggestively over his and smiled very sweetly while making eye contact. When his time was up, Mike asked if we might go to dinner. When I told him sadly that this wasn't possible, he pressed me for a follow-up meeting. I told him that I'd get back to him, but that I really needed to go. The unmarked van waited outside for me when I finally exited the restaurant a few minutes later. "Did you get everything you needed?" Robbie nodded as he took the mini wireless camera from me.
Good job, Angie. We'll start working with the data first thing tomorrow. You take a day or so off. You've earned it.
"Thanks, Robbie. I hope this experiment in socializing gives us the conclusions we've predicted. I'll see you in a couple of days." I headed home. Caleb, my husband of 15 years, and our 2 boys would be waiting up for me. One thing I'd already determined. I'm so glad I don't have to step foot in the dating pool anymore. It's exhausting.